Good afternoon, students. Last class we had the Bayes-Savart law. The Bayes-Savart law is equivalent to what another Coulomb's law. Today we are going to study about the next important law in the magnetism is Ampere's circuit law. The Ampere's circuit law is equivalent to what another Gauss law. You know that Gauss law gives a shortcut to measure the electrical field, and it can be applicable only for the symmetrical surface. That is very important for Gauss law. That means the Gaussian surface must be the symmetrical. Similarly, the Ampere circuit law also is a shortcut to find out the magnetic field, but it is not a universal law. Like Gauss law, it is not a universal law. We cannot be able to find out the magnetic field for all the cases by using Ampere circuit law. Only few cases we can able to find out by using Ampere circuit law. But Bayes-Savart law not like that. Bayes-Savart law is a universal law. It can be applicable for all the cases. Okay. So the Ampere circuit law says that the line integral of the magnetic field, okay, the line integral of the magnetic field around any closed path in free space is equal to mu naught times the net current flowing through the surface. See that? The line integral of the magnetic flux or the magnetic field around any closed path in the free space is equal to mu naught times the net current flowing through the surface. If it is a medium, means instead of taking mu naught, we have to take mu, permeability of the medium. And air means we can take it as one mu naught. The mu naught is nothing but the magnetic permeability for air. Okay. Now, in the Gauss law, we are going to have a closed surface. That surface we can call it as a Gaussian surface. Similarly, in the Ampere circuit law, we are going to have a closed loop. That loop we can call as an Amperian loop, the closed surface around the current carrying conductor. It might have the symmetrical in nature, then only we could able to use it. Okay. So first, we are going to prove the Ampere circuit law. To prove the Ampere circuit law, let me take a straight conductor. The straight conductor carries a current I. Okay. According to the right hand thumb rule, if you are holding a current carrying conductor in your right hand, if the thumb indicates the direction of the current, then the curl finger indicates the direction of a magnetic field. So here the magnetic field will be coming out. Okay. So it will produce a magnetic field. The magnetic field will be represented by here. Here the magnetic field will be coming out, so you can take it as a dot. Here the magnetic field is going into, so you can take it as into. So it will produce a magnetic field. Okay. And consider this as Amperian loop, and here this R is the radius of the Amperian loop. Okay. And take this point as P. Now at P, the last class we have learned about the magnetic field produced by the circular coil. For the circular coil, at the midpoint, the magnetic field, you know that mu naught Ni divided by 2A, where A is the radius. Correct? This is for the circular coil. If it is straight conductor, see, for a circular coil, the magnetic field at the center is uniform. That is the reason here we will be getting 2A. Okay. But for a straight conductor, that means at P, we will be getting a magnetic field. That magnetic field denoted by the formula mu naught I. Here N will be taken as 1, so you can take it as 1 mu naught I divided by 2 pi A. The 2 pi A indicates that the magnetic field will be produced around the conductor in the form of concentric circle. Okay. So in our case, the radius is taken as R, so instead of A, you can take it as R. So you will be getting B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi R. At B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi R. Okay. So now let us use the formula. Closed interval of P vector dot dl vector is equal to closed interval of B dl cos theta will be taken as what, not a 0. Here theta is the angle between the magnetic field and the length element dl, so that will be 0. Let us assume that. Then you will be getting B dl cos 0. Cos 0 value will be equal to 1. Then the remaining will be closed interval of B dl, that is equal to B into L. So B is the magnetic field, L is the circumference of the given thing, or you can differentiate from 0 to 2 pi a. So then here you will be getting L 0 to 2 pi a. Now substitute the values are B into 2 pi a minus 0, so that will be equal to B into 2 pi a. So you know the value of B. From the equation 1 you substitute B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi r. So here also, you have to take the radius as r, so this will be taken as 2 pi r. So in this case also you will be getting 2 pi r. So mu naught I into 2 pi r into 2 pi r. So this 2 pi r get cancelled, so you will be getting mu naught I. So close interval of B vector dot dl vector will be equal to mu naught I. This is the proof for Ampere circuital law. Okay. So closed interval of B dot dl is equal to mu naught I. The net magnetic field around any closed loop is equal to mu naught times net current flowing through the circuit. That only we can call it as Ampere circuital law. For the Ampere circuital law, there are some limitation. It is not a universal law. Okay. So what are the limitations? These are the limitations of the Ampere circuit law. First one, it is not a universal law. Not universal means all the cases we cannot be able to find out the Ampere circuital law. That is the first drawback. Second one, it deals with steady current, DC current. Okay. It cannot be applicable for AC current. But Ampere, Bayes' law not like that. It is a universal law and it can be applicable for both direct current as well as indirect current. So that we can consider as a universal law. These are the drawbacks between this Ampere circuital law. Now there are two applications for the Ampere circuit law. Here we are going to study about three applications. First one for a straight conductor, second one for a solenoid, and the third one for a toroid. Okay. There are three applications for Ampere circuit law. Okay. So first, let us go with first case. We are going to consider the straight conductor. Okay. So let me take, this is the straight conductor. This is the axis conductor. Assume that this is the axis of the straight conductor, and I is the current flowing through the conductor. We are going to consider three cases, and A is the radius of the conductor. First we are going to take an Amperican loop outside the conductor, that let me take it as X. And the radius of the Amperian loop, let me take it as R. That means that X, R will be greater than A. Second case, I am going to take on the surface, that let me take it as Y. Here R is equal to A. In the third case, here R less than A, that means inside the conductor. That case, let me take it as Z. So three cases. So first one, outside the conductor we are going to find out the magnetic field, and the second one, On the surface of the conductor, we are going to find out the magnetic field. And the third case, we are going to find out the magnetic field inside the conductor. So first let me take outside. That means R greater than A. So if you are considering the magnetic field at a point R greater than A, according to the ambient circuit law, closed interval of B vector dot dl vector is equal to mu naught into I. That means B into L, the value will be not a cos 0 is equal to mu naught into I. Again, L, you know that nothing but the circumference of the loop. So you can take that as not L is equal to 2 pi R is equal to mu naught I. So B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi R. This is the magnetic field outside the conductor. Okay, this is the magnetic field outside the conductor, and it clearly explains that B direct inversely proportional to the radius. If the radius or distance, okay, if the distance increases, what will happen to the magnetic field? It decreases. That means if the amperican loop size increases, the magnetic field decreases. That is the first assumption what you are going to get from outside when R is equal to greater than A. Okay, so now let us move on to the second case. Second case is very simple. That means what? On the surface. So on the surface, R will be equal to A. So the formula will be B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi A. Instead of writing R, you can write this as 2 pi A. So that is the formula for the magnetic field on the surface. Okay. Then the third case, let us go inside the conductor. Inside the conductor, R will be less than A. But here you see the inside the conductor, the current will be equal to 0, because already we have learned that the charges have a property. They always reside outside the conductor. They never be inside the conductor. So the current will be only along the surface, not inside. So the current inside the surface I inside can be taken as 0. So the magnetic field will be equal to 0 inside the conductor. The magnetic field will be 0 inside the conductor. But we are going to take an assumption. What assumption I am going to take? The current is equally divided across the given area. Assume that the current is going to be equally divided across the given area. That means here the area will be, and we know we have to find out the current flowing through only this area. That current, let me take it as I dash. That current, let me take it as I dash. So I dash is the current flowing through the surface or not only this surface. But the whole surface, let us take the current is I. That means the whole surface we know the area. So for pi A square, the current will be I. Am I right? For pi A square, current will be not I. Then 1 meter square, the current will be I divided by pi A square. But we need for that area can be taken as for pi R square area. Let me take the current as I dash. Okay. So I dash is equal to I by pi A square into pi R square. Sure? So this pi and this pi get cancelled. The remaining will be I into R square by A square. That is the current flowing through the given area. I dash. See, this is very important. For pi A square area, the current will be I dash. Then 1 meter square, the current will be I divided by pi A square. Then for pi R square area, because we need only this is the effective area. So then for pi R square area, I dash will be equal to I by pi A square into pi R square. So pi get cancelled. You will be getting I dash as I R square divided by A square. So now let us use in the formula closed interval of B vector dot dl vector is equal to mu naught into I dash. Okay, so mu naught into I dash, that is equal to B L is equal to mu naught into I dash. We know that I r square by a square, where L is the circumference, then again you will be getting B into 2 pi r is equal to mu naught I r square divided by a square. This r and this r get cancelled, then remaining B is equal to mu naught I r divided by 2 pi into a square. That is the magnetic field produced inside. See that? Outside the conductor, magnetic field is inversely proportional to R, but inside the conductor, magnetic B in directly proportional to R. That is very, very important thing. Outside, that is inversely proportional to R, but inside the conductor, the magnetic field is not directly proportional to R. So, we are going to draw a graph now. Okay. I am going to take here R, and here I am going to take what not the magnetic field to be. So the magnetic field will be taken along the y-axis, and the distance is taken along the x-axis. First case will be take R less than A. In this point R is equal to A. Here R greater than A. So there are three components. When R less than A, that means this case B inside. B directly proportional to R, so the graph will be straight. When R is equal to A, the magnetic field will be maximum. When R becomes greater than the radius of the wire, B will be inversely proportional to R, so it will become a. Okay, so this is the graph. The graph is very, very important. They will ask this question only for the graph. Okay, da? So this is for a straight conductor. So then straight conductor, there are three cases. One is outside, on the surface, inside. Again inside we are going to take two. If the current is divided, what will happen? If the current is not divided, what will happen? Okay, both the things we have learned it. Okay, da? So now let us move on to the next application. The next application of the given thing will be the solenoid. What will be happen to the magnetic field produced by a solenoid? Okay. Okay. This is the second application. Solenoid. The second application of the magnetic field, Ampere circuit law. So now first we must know what is meant by solenoid. What is the main difference between the coil and the solenoid? See, solenoid denoted by the letter this way. Okay. So this is the length of the solenoid. This is the, if you take here, this will be the radius R. If L greater than R, then we can call it as solenoid. If L greater than R means that we can take it as solenoid. Okay. If R greater than L means that we can take it as coil. That is the main difference between the solenoid and coil. Okay. If the length of the solenoid greater than the radius means that we can call it a solenoid. If the radius greater than the length means that we can call it a coil. You know that solenoid example, the spring inside one spring will be there. That we can consider as a solenoid. But the coil means, you know that keychains you will be having a ring, correct? Na? You consider the ring, the radius will be greater than the length, so that can be considered as a coil. And then you can ask, which one is most powerful magnetic field? Solenoid only act as a source of powerful magnetic field. Okay, na? Because here the field will be strong and uniform. Okay, so now let me take it as what a solenoid. Generally, the solenoid used in television and radios, receiver, and other things. Okay. Now let us see the magnetic field produced by a solenoid. Assume that this is a solenoid, it is connected to a battery through a key K. This is the positive and the negative terminal, this is the battery, and the current. Now, the negative terminal, what is the first letter? The negative, N. That means the negative terminal will act as a north pole and the positive side will act as a south pole. Then you know that it will produce a magnetic field. Okay. Outside the magnetic field will be north to south. Inside the magnetic field will be south to north. Inside they are parallel and uniform. So the field will be uniform inside. And it is not a non-uniform outside and is almost equal to 0. When we consider the strength of the magnetic field inside, the field outside will be taken as what? Not as 0. The field outside will be taken as 0. And here you can know that I will be moving in this direction. See here, first here I am taking this. Understand? So the magnetic field here, it will produce a magnetic field in the form of circle according to the whose ladder? Right hand thumb rule. Okay. So current is moving in the downward direction. So here the field will be coming out. Here it will be going into. So here this dot and here it will be into. Similarly, next one you take the here it will be into and the next one will be dot. So this dot and into get cancel each other. That means the magnetic field between the two rings will be nullified. That will be equal to 0. That will be equal to 0. Understood? These are about the magnetic field produced by the solenoid. The solenoid magnetic field is similar to the bar magnet. That is the reason solenoid can act as a bar magnet, and the strength of the solenoid can be easily adjusted by changing the current or by changing the number of turns. That is the reason solenoid will be used as a magnetic source in so many home appliances. Okay, so now we are going to find out the magnetic field produced by the solenoid inside the solenoid. Okay, what will be the strength of the magnetic field produced inside the solenoid? Let me take this as the solenoid. Okay. Normally dot and into will be represented for magnetic field. But in our case, I am going to represent the dot and into for the current, only for this case. Here the dot and into never represent the magnetic field. Here the dot and into represent the current. That means the coil, the current is coming through this coil and enter here, and again coming through that and enter here, again it will be coming through that and enter, then again it will be coming, that means it will go this way. Here it is coming out, okay, and here it will be going into, to indicate that we are going to use what, the given thing. Magnetic field, according to the right hand thumb rule, the fingers indicates the current, then the thumb indicates the direction of the magnetic field. So here the current is coming out, so the thumb indicates the direction here. So the direction of the magnetic field will be along this direction. Okay? Understood? The right hand thumb rule can be used in both the way. If the thumb indicates the direction of the current, then the curved finger indicates the magnetic. If the curved finger indicates the direction of the current, because here so many currents are coming, so curved finger indicates the direction of the current, means thumb indicates the direction of the magnetic field. In either way, we can able to use it. So here the current are coming out and going into this way, so the magnetic field will be along this direction. First, we have to take a Amperian loop. So let me consider this as an Amperian loop. Okay, so the length of the Amperian loop, let me take it as L, and the breadth, let us consider the square with the length L, and here also this is also the length L. Okay, so the length will be taken as L. the sides, okay, and the breadth also. That means let us consider the Amberian loop as a square with a side L and name it as this is E, this is B, this is C, and this is D. So this is the Amberian loop. Let us assume that this is the Amberian loop. So in the Amberian loop there are how many sides? There are 4 sides. So the net magnetic field will be, so magnetic field close integral of B dot dl. First coordinate from A to B plus close integral of magnetic field B to C B dot dl plus close integral of C to D B dot dl plus close integral of D to A B dot dl is equal to mu naught into I. So first let me take the first case. In this case theta will be 0 because magnetic field and the current element are in the same direction. But the second case magnetic field will be acting this then the current element will be perpendicular. So this case second case theta will be 90 degree. Third case you see third case will be outside the solenoid. Correct na? Third case or not outside the solenoid. So in the third case B will be 0. See second case theta 90, first case theta 0. Again fourth case theta will be or not 90 degree. Then this value will become B into L. And the second value will become 0 because cos 90 will be 0. Then the third again magnetic field is 0. Then the fourth value is 0, that is equal to mu naught into I. So only one segment will not carry that. So BL is equal to mu naught I. So now B into this L. L is nothing but what the length of the solenoid. So I can write as B into L is equal to mu naught into, actually this is I dash, you only take I dash. Why I dash na? I dash is the current flowing through only the Amberian loop. I is the net current. So we need only I dash. Okay. So this I dash can be taken as, see here, the I dash will be equal to Ni into L. Where N is the number of turns per unit length. L is the length of the conductor. That means the total number of turns, capital N, can be written as N into L. N is the number of turns per unit length and capital. So mu naught NIL. You just keep it as nil to keep, okay. So mu naught NIL. So this L and this L get cancelled. So the magnetic field B is equal to mu naught NI. N is equal to number of turns produced per unit length. That is very, very important. Suppose if you want to write in the capital and then the formula is equal to mu naught capital Ni divided by L. So this is in terms of what capital Ni. So this is the magnetic field produced by a solenoid. Actually I thought to complete the toroid also, it's a time up, so it is couldn't be able to upload the video. So let me stop it here. Thank you. Let us continue in the next class the remaining part.